It is time for Around the 412 with Smitty and Tyler.
Welcome back to another episode of Around the 412. I am Tyler. With me, as always, is my co-host Smitty. Be sure to go follow us on all of our social medias at Around the 412. You can find us everywhere. While you're listening to the show, go check out the description. We've got a Facebook link to everything custom designs, whether you're on YouTube or the listening platforms where you can have the link. So go check it out. Our friend Haley Wagner's small business. She does customized clothing. She does a lot of customized t-shirts and hoodies and all that sort of stuff. You can get some customized Around the 412 merch as well. But something new, and I've said it on the previous shows this week, but I'll say it on this one as well, just in case you only listen for the Penguins, is that you can get some customized tumblers. She does these, what I would describe, she called them tumblers, but I would call them, like, they look like big, like mason jar sort of things, but they've got like a metal cap and a straw. You can customize the jar itself. You can also customize the lid. I didn't know that until looking at the post a little further. And she also does shot glasses, mugs, sippy cups, all sorts of stuff. So this is something new that she's doing. She hasn't done anything like this as far as we know. It's been sticking with the clothing outside of hats. But yeah, go check that out if you want to get a customized tumbler from her as well. Facebook link in the description.
Yeah, I'm going to get an Around the 412 one and have it on here so you guys can see what it looks, assuming that's possible. I mean, she's used our logo before, so I would think that it's kind of like already in the Rolodex inventory, whatever you want to call it, to be able to put on stuff. So hopefully that's the case. If you're watching on YouTube, you'll see the logo of Keats Barbershop above Tyler, or in the ticker strolling across the bottom. They've been sponsoring the show pretty much since day one. Keats Barbershop, 401 Burkitch Way, Suite 2 in Beaver, PA. Christian, Tony, and Ashley do a great job over there. Very old school feel as soon as you walk in. Again, Keats Barbershop, 401 Burkitch Way, Suite 2 in Beaver, PA. Tyler, when it comes to Penguins hockey for the rest of the season, I don't know about you. I mentioned last week kind of specific stuff that I want to see the rest of the way, not so much about the team's overall performance. Sidney Crosby being a point-per-game player to tie Gretzky for the most consecutive seasons is numero uno for me on that list, and he is 5 points away from 82 points on the year to clinch that after having 7 points within the past 2 games. So we're getting there. I think he's going to get there surely at this point. I'll be honest, there was a point even just last week where I was like, because
could it happen?
He had, he kind of the dry spell for him. You know, he went like 10 plus games without a goal. The points weren't coming in the way that they were. But after the last couple of games, getting Brian Rust back in the fold, I feel like the team's played a little bit better. Michael Bunting has now fit in nicely with Gino as opposed to up with Sid. Completely fine with that wherever he's playing. But yeah, as long as Sid gets to that 82 points, to me at this point, that's all I care about in terms of the Penguins season.
Yeah, well, what's funny is about who these 2 games where he had the 7 points in were against. One was against his buddy from good old Nova Scotia, Cole Harbor, and Nathan McKinnon, and the other was his first time playing against Jake Gensel instead of with Jake Gensel.
Yeah, that's a good point. I didn't even think about.
I feel like those are
thing I certainly thought about.
2 motivational games for Sid. Obviously, he loves both of those guys. Those are probably like brothers to him. But at the end of the day, he's a competitor. He's got that edge. When he's playing against Nathan McKinnon in the Colorado Avalanche, he still wants to show like, hey, Nate Mack is pretty good, but I'm still that guy from Cole Harbor. And he did that with a 4-point production night on that night. And then against Jake Gensel and the Carolina Hurricanes, his first game against him, I mean, I'm sure it was an emotional night for everybody, but maybe in my head, I'm thinking like, there's so many people that said like Sid and Jake were playing well with each other, or they're going to be like apart. Jake has been lighting it up in Carolina since he's been there, and that's around the same time that Sid was on his little dry spell as well. So maybe it was a little change of the tide and drew something out of Sid where he's like, listen, I'm still that guy. Even without Jake, I'm still that guy. He has a 3-point night and 7 points in 2 games. I'm with you. I think that's probably one of the only things that I would continuously watch this season for is seeing Sidney Crosby play hockey, regardless of whether he was even at a point per game player, but just for the sake that we get to watch Sidney Crosby play hockey and for the fact that we have watched him for so long and the fact that he still is playing at this high of a level, it makes it even more special to watch him as a 36-year-old. So I'm in agreement with you. I think he's going to hit the 82 points. I think he'll hit it in the next couple of games. They have 11 games left, and I don't, as far as I'm aware, I don't think Sid has missed any games. And so on an 82-point stretch season after the last 2 games, if you take that for a season average, he's on pace for 87 points. Another great season from the captain. I think that
he's probably gonna hit 87 exactly.
Yeah, I think that's one of the only things worth watching for right now. The other thing worth watching for, and the other thing that, as at least out of these last couple of games, they're kind of toeing the line with, is you kind of want them to lose. We talked about it last week. You want them to be in that top 10 threshold when it comes to finishing in the top 10 of worst teams in the NHL, not best teams in the NHL. So while nights like Colorado, which, I mean, don't get me wrong, whether I want them to win or lose the game, blowing a 4-0 lead is absolutely frustrating, no matter how you shake it. Even if you want them to lose and get in the top 10, actually just watching that game is literally living hell, watching them blow that lead and lose in overtime. But the fact that they pick up a point in that game and then they win against Carolina in an improbable matchup that you're going to win against, and the fact that you are teetering that line, as of right now, they are at number 10. So they're really towing the line pretty close for whether they're going to keep their pick or not. That's something that we have talked about and we discussed at length last week, was whether we want them to keep or really just try to still win or try to get that pick. We're both in agreement. We want them to try to get that pick. This is unlike anything else that we've ever seen in Pittsburgh sports, as far as us just wanting our team to lose games to secure that pick and potentially get a lottery pick. I mean, how do you tell a team to just stop it?
That's why I almost feel like that game against Colorado was perfect. Sid gets 4 points, but they still lose. I know they got 1 point, but still. Yeah, I guess if they would have lost in regulation, it would have been the best possible scenario for them long term. Yeah, I don't know. I was having this conversation with my dad at dinner a couple of nights ago too, like talking about it, because like in the moment, it's impossible to root for them to lose. Like otherwise, why am I sitting down to watch the game?
Right.
But like when you think about the long term impact here, the worst possible outcome is for them to finish anywhere between 11 and not make in whatever the last team to not make the playoffs would be, the first team out of the playoffs. Worst possible outcome for them from this season. And they are right there. Again, like we knew it was going to be close because this team has just gone back and forth. They've been, 500 for so long, for like the last couple months. It evens out to about a 500 record. So with where they're at right now, man, in their upcoming schedule, I don't really see that change. I think this is going to come down right to the wire for them in terms of being within that 10.
Well, they need to pick a side. They need to pick whether they are going to lose games, or they need to pick whether they are going to win enough games to sneak into that wild card spot. As improbable as that sounds, it's still technically possible, and a lot of their games are up against the opponents that they're going to be fighting for spots with.
They got back-to-backs against the Jackets right here coming up. I mean, they win both. They're not going to be inside the top and bottom 10 anymore.
No, but then you have games against.
Then it gets tough. Yeah,
you have games against.
I'm just saying for the time being.
No, but it gets tough. But also some of like the game against the Devils, game against Lightning, game against Red Wings. You have a game against the Capitals and the Rangers in there. I mean, Rangers are definitely winning the division, but as far as those other games go, every single one of those guys are all teams that you would be competing for that last wild card spot. I think that it is tough because these are the games that we were talking about that are those 4-point swings, but it's so weird because the 4-point swings we were talking about 2 months ago, they need to go in the opposite direction. Because
I mean, they're 9 points back of Washington for the second wild card. Same amount of games played, and there's only 11 games left. Like I don't want them to win. I do not want them to.
I don't want them to win. I understand the Penguins' record against the Blue Jackets. I hope the Blue Jackets sweep them, and that's easy to say when I'm not sitting there watching the game. But I can't watch this team just throw away their first round pick because they decide to not be bad enough. But they're also not good enough to actually make the playoffs. That is literally living hell. That is hell on earth as a Penguins fan, is watching them do that.
I'm flabbergasted as to where they are right now. Definitely didn't see this coming before the season, but here we are.
And
I
also,
didn't think that it would be like this.
you need
Maybe
you need more games like that Colorado game, except don't get the point. Just blow the lead.
that was so frustrating to watch
Like
in the
Sid
moment, though.
gets 4-point game, but we still lose. You need that, but in regulation. Because those are the two things we're watching for. We need you to lose.
76 points.
We need Sid to get points still.
Sid
That's
has
pretty much
76
it.
points and 71. Yeah, I mean that is it. Again, I wanted to see how Michael Bunting fit in the rest of the way. Sam Poulin did come up. I guess we should mention that as well. We'll see if that's for the rest of the season. I think it should be. I mean, I don't know that he's really shown any. He didn't really flash anything in that game against Carolina when he was up here. But give him an extended look the rest of this year. He's 23 now. Like it's really now or never to figure out if he is going to be anything, in my opinion. So I would give him the rest of this year up here. I don't know. I know that you said the same. Like we both wanted Sam Poulin to be up here immediately after the trade deadline. It didn't happen. It took Noel Achari going back on IR, which, by the way, man, what a flop of a signing that has been as well. To me, like obviously Graves, number one, bad signing, but only because of how bad that has been. The Achari conversation hasn't been as loud because that signing's been atrocious too.
Yeah, I mean the $2 million is easier to swallow, but still, 3 years, $2 million hasn't been good for the Penguins.
Is it only $2 million?
I think it's $2 million.
Okay.
I can tell you in 1 second.
I thought it was 3 years above three, like 3-ish million.
It is, yeah, 3 years, $2 million.
Okay, cap hit of only $2 million, not bad, but still, I mean, he's either hurt or played bad. So
we want him playing right now. That's what we're saying. Is we want him on the ice right now.
Yeah, I guess you're right. I hate that he's on IR because he could be on the team making them worse. No,
it's an awkward spot to be in.
For him.
Oh, he does for sure. And you know what? That would make that easier. Having a first round pick. So pack it in, Penguins. Just, like currently 72 points. Teams around that. 73 is Buffalo. 75 is the Islanders. 76.
Yeah, you got to make sure. You
got to stay below all of those people.
You got to make sure you have that protected first round pick, so you can trade it along with Ryan Graves to get rid of his contract.
That's true. That's true. Even if they swept Columbus, that would put them at 76 points. Yeah. Having the Rangers, Devils, Capitals, Lightning, Toronto, Red Wings, Boston, Nashville Islanders to close out the season. Mm-hmm. I mean, that is a tough stretch. You're talking about like a ton of playoff teams and a ton of fringe playoff teams. And man, oh my gosh, just lose the games. Lose the games and get the pick. Make it easier on yourself. You don't need to make life harder for Kyle, the team. Okay? Just lose the games. Get Sid to 82.
You've done a pretty solid job of doing that, so just continue to do it.
Seriously. You've lost what? What's their overall record right now? Standings 31, 30, and 10. So you've lost 40 games. Lose 10 more.
Imagine if they get the number one.
That's what I'm saying. You need to be in the conversation. That's all you need is a chance.
Macklin Celebrini.
The Flyers literally went from number 15 in terms of like ranking for odds, and they got the number 2 overall pick. It's not great odds that it's going to happen, but you're telling me there's a chance.
Happen. Yeah.
But it has happened.
I was reading about Macklin Celebrini. People were comparing him, and I know that I don't like this. You're going to hate this. People were talking about his two-way ability and how good he is on the boards and saying there's some Sidney Crosby to his game.
There's no Sidney Crosby to anybody's game. There's just Sidney Crosby.
But the most comparable player to him, they were saying, was like a John Tavares type. Like there's not a Connor Bedard or Connor McDavid in this draft.
Yeah, but
Macklin,
sign me up for a John Tavares. Yeah. You kidding me? Absolutely.
Yeah. No, I 100% agree. I just wanted to point that out. Like, you're probably not talking about a generational talent at the top of this draft like you have a couple of other times in recent memory.
No, but you are talking about a guy that can contribute right away at the NHL level.
Yeah.
And they
Which,
need that.
even for a guy that I'm very excited for in Braden Yeager is probably like 2-ish years away still.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's part of the reason that you need Sam Poulin to hit. And as far as Sam Poulin goes, I do think that you give him the entirety of this season. And I don't think that you put a lot of judgment as far as what he can be in an NHL level just on these like last 12 games or whatever he ends up playing in. I do think that he probably should get a more full-time look at the NHL level going into this season. And if he plays great to close out the season, then that's great. But if he's not like lighting up the scoreboard or not being having a great performance night in and night out, I wouldn't put too much stock into that as far as what an NHL player he could be, because it's literally like a week and a half worth of games at the NHL level.
Yeah. We did have one question here, so we'll get to this and then we will get out of here. John says, how do you evaluate Tristan Jarry, and do we still keep him or try to deal him? I mean, as of late, hasn't been very good. For a while, I feel like at the beginning of the year, he was carrying the team. He was the only reason they were, even where they were at. He actually, you know what? Blame him if the Penguins don't have a bottom 10 record when it's all said and done for how he played at the beginning of the year. So ship him off just for that reason alone. No, but I do think that he was playing at least at, if not above, what his contract warrants. Like, I think he was providing surplus on that with the way that he was playing early on. As of late, I think there's been a dip in the play in net. Nedeljkovic was really good against the Canes in their last game. But prior to that, I feel like there's definitely been a dip in play from the goaltenders as well. And I don't think it's a product of the defense suddenly playing worse. I don't think that they've necessarily been great all year. I think that the goaltending stopped standing on its head in a way that they were earlier in the season. As far as Jarry's contract, I don't think that the money is awful, but the term I just don't like. I think if they have the opportunity to get out of that contract, I would. I would try to find a stopgap, and then of course you have Yoel Blomqvist at some point, hopefully in the near future, that you hope is the guy. So I don't know if that's going to happen, but I just think in my ideal world, this offseason, I don't know if shopping is the right word necessarily, but if an opportunity presents itself, if a team is calling about Tristan Jarry, 4 years left on his deal, making over $5 million per, I'm open to it.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that when it comes to Jarry, I didn't want him to sign in the first place, but the Penguins were just kind of handcuffed to their options as far as goaltenders go. When it comes to listening on goalies, I think that they'll definitely listen. And I think that the mindset of Kyle Dubas and the direction that he wants to take this team in the immediate future is probably where
also,
the mindset of a goaltender
trade
is going
list
to
every
come
year
from.
in this contract, by the way. So
yeah,
limited opportunities to move him, and to a degree.
But I do think that Kyle Dubas's outlook on where he is as far as like retooling / rebuilding this team is going to have an impact on what they would do with Tristan Jarry. Like if a team calls and they give you a deal that's too good to refuse, then obviously you do a deal no matter what. If you think that you're going to be competitive next season, I have a hard time saying that they should move him before next season because of the way he's played for the majority of this season. I understand that he's had a dip in play, but I still think that he has warranted coming back next season if you're going to be competitive. Now, if you're just really just selling into a rebuild, then pretty much all the cuffs are off for whoever is on the table. And I think that you're pretty much trading almost anybody or willing to trade almost anybody at that point. And so from that standpoint, like, and in my opinion, and you basically said the same thing, like, I am very much open to trading mostly anybody on the roster. I'm open to trading Tristan Jarry, including that group, because, like you said, the term's not great on his deal. I didn't want him signed in the first place anyway, and the fact that he played well for the majority of this season, that doesn't change my opinion that I didn't want him signed to a long-term deal. That just means that this season was good. But I do think that goaltender and the goaltender position specifically for the Penguins is something that it's just going to really have to be evaluated as far as where they think they are in their competitive window. Like if they think they can retool this summer, if Kyle thinks he can, then I think you should keep Tristan Jarry around because you're going to need a starting goaltender for next season that you can more or less rely on. I know that's a shaky thing to say when talking about Tristan Jarry, but for the majority of this season, he has carried the team to the position that they were in before everything started to go downhill. But I think that it's really a tough call too, because the contract's not great, and I understand that. But it just depends on what Kyle determines is the competitive window for this team, in my opinion. I would be willing to trade off of him because I think their competitive window is pretty much shut right now, and they should just go into a full rebuild, kind of like rip the Band-Aid off before it happens. But at the same time, with Sid potentially getting a point per game again and tying Gretzky's record and still playing at the level he is, it's really tough to say, hey, Sid, we are fully rebuilding instead of just like retooling and trying to compete with you. I don't know. It is a tough position to be in for Kyle Dubas, and I don't envy it at all.
I would almost just rather bring Nedeljkovic back at half of what Jari's contract is. If you can move Jarry, bring up Yoel Blomqvist, have those two as the goaltenders, and spend that other savings to help with the bottom six, like where I think a lot of the money should go this offseason. I don't know. Just one idea.
To bring Jake back?
I mean, there's a lot of stuff that came out yesterday in terms of what he said after the game makes me think that that's not going to happen. But
yeah, I thought that those comments were interesting. Like, he was very open to staying and he wanted to stay, but the team just wanted to go.
There's three sides to every story. There's three sides to every story. That was certainly Gensel's side of it. I do think he wanted to stay, but like, did he want to stay enough to not get 8 years, whatever the money was? Like the years seem to be the holdup more than I think the money.
Well, I mean, I guess technically it's still on the table, but ultimately, based off those comments, what I see is it is up to Kyle whether he wants to bring Guentzel back, not whether Guentzel would want to come back. When I read those comments, I think Guentzel would still be willing to come back.
Okay. I feel like maybe it's fractured at this point. Like maybe he wanted to sign an extension, but I don't know that he still does. Like that's kind of where I'm at. And seeing like his dad talk about it too, I don't know. Like I just feel like I wonder if the relationship is fractured beyond repair because of how those conversations or lack of conversation in terms of an extension went.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's tough, but then maybe a phone call for
I mean, if I was Jake Guentzel, I would be like Kyle, you gave Ryan Graves 6 years.
Yeah, that's
and
true.
You can't give me 8.
Yeah, that's true. Well, he wouldn't even have to give him 8 now. He can only give him 7.
7. Yeah, but sorry. I was saying past tense when they were negotiating.
Yeah, no. I understand. But like I said, maybe a phone call from Sidney Crosby changes everything. Look at what happened whenever
the mediator.
Whenever they were trying to have Malkin and Letang resign with Malkin, the whole issue.
Get him in the room. Yeah.
I don't know.
I remember how sad it seemed with Gino. Like they don't want me anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Like it just seemed like he was like, emo Gino was coming out, listening to Black Parade or something. Before he got the call from Sid. I don't know. I'm very interested in how this offseason is going to go.
I am too. I'm very interested. Gut reaction after the comment is Guentzel's not coming back, and that goes against what I said whenever he was originally traded, that I thought he was going to come back. Mm-hmm. But that's my gut reaction. I just think Guentzel's gone. And
hey,
it is what it is.
Future Penguin Sam Reinhart, I think, had scored his 50th.
Future Penguin Sam Reinhart.
That's the pipe dream. That's the only way that you can make up for losing Jake Guentzel with Sam Reinhart.
Is Sam Reinhart a free agent?
He is. I can't imagine Florida's going to let him go, but I'm surprised he's not re-signed yet.
I mean, he makes 6.5 right now, but when you're he scored 84 points so far.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how much cap space do we have.
He has more power play goals than a lot of teams, or like the same amount, basically.
He's got to have more than the Penguins, right?
It's right there. I remember when we played them last, it was even, or he had like one less.
Okay.
So But yeah, I think that's it. Unless you got anything else regarding the Penguins. We'll be back next week talking about the same stuff, hoping the team loses and hoping Sidney Crosby continues to rack up points. So Sam Poulin hopefully stays in the lineup. Michael Bunting continues to fit in well, and that's all we really care about from this point forward. Be sure to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell here. And I'm sure you guys love listening to Penguins Talk, where we're just rooting actively against the team winning hockey games. But that's what we got to do the rest of the way. Hit us in the comments with any thoughts about what we talked about. Where are you at with this team? Are you in the same boat as us, or are you still sitting there watching every game, hoping that they pull it out and holding on to their playoff, very slim playoff hopes? If you're listening somewhere else, Apple, Spotify, wherever it might be sure to leave us a 5-star review over there. Check out the description wherever you are watching or listening. Everything Custom Designs. Our friend Haley Wagner's small business link is there. T-shirts, hoodies, a bunch of different things. And then as Tyler mentioned, customized tumbler type things that she's working on now. If you follow that link, you can go and see the post with those. I'm going to try to get around the 412 one, and I'll bring it on here so you guys can see. And again, our sponsor, if you guys are watching on YouTube, you'll see the logo on the screen right above Tyler. Keeks Barbershop, also in the ticker going across the bottom of every episode. You see it there. Keeks Barbershop, 401 Burkitch Way, Suite 2 in Beaver, PA. Again, that's 401 Burkitch Way, Suite 2 in Beaver, PA. Old school vibe. Christian, Tony, Ashley, they take care of you in there. I've been going there since 2018, I believe, whenever it is that it opened. It's in a separate location now. In my opinion, much better location. Huge fan of the barbershop. If you go there, you won't want to go anywhere else. So big shout out to Keeks Barbershop. Big shout out to you guys. Again, be sure to join us next month for our live draft special. I'll be here with a lot of friends. Tyler, TBD in terms of his availability for the show, but hope you'll join us. Mid Kuiper will definitely be in the building as well. So don't want to miss it. Ton of giveaways, 3 sets of Steelers tickets, 3 jerseys, a set of Steelers tickets, Terry Bradshaw, Funko Pop, some around the 412 merch from Everything Custom Designs, and then also a couple of shirts from our friends at Game Changers. So don't want to miss that. Be sure to be here. Hit that notification bell so you know when we go live on that day, April 25th. Be here or be square. Until then, for Tyler, for Smitty, go check out another episode, and we'll see you guys next week. Bye-bye.